Okay, so for this video, what I'm going to do is just run through about 5, 6, 7 good hip and lower extremity stretches or mobility exercises, whatever you might want to call them, to address tightness all about the hip, right? And so I'm going to try and show a couple different variations on how you can do them for those that might be a little tighter or a little, more mobile. But being someone who's tight himself, I might stick to the ones for the people who are a little more tight in general. So if we want, we're just going to, or if you can, we're just going to start on the ground. And you can go right to your back. And the first one we're going to do, I like to call a figure 4 stretch or whatever, because my legs kind of make a 4. There's so many different names to these things. But just laying here and pushing the knee down to the side. You should feel a little bit of a stretch if you're doing it right here on the outside of the hip. And the most important thing when you stretch is breathing. Nice, long, relaxing exhales. A lot of people ask how long you should hold a stretch, and I like to say up to 2 minutes. I mean, really, to get good neurologic change, you should hold a stretch for 2 minutes. You should breathe into it. If you do anything less than a minute, you're really not going to do a whole lot for yourself, other than maybe understand that there's a little more tightness there. So let's imagine it's been 2 minutes. Another way you can do this one is sitting in a chair. If we're here sitting in a chair and we have our leg crossed and push down, you want to keep your core nice and tall. You don't want to feel like you need to lean into it, because then you're defeating the purpose anyway. Press that leg down. You should feel that stretch on the outside. This is something easily that you can do at work. Our hips get so tight from sitting here typing all day that's a great one to check out. Another one is kind of your standard piriformis stretch. A lot of us get this piriformis syndrome or sciatica or whatever. So if we just sit here, pull this knee up and across, and kind of rotate our knee towards us. You can also pull your foot. You can feel where you get that tightness just right up in the back of your buttock. And again, you can hold here, breathe and relax into it, or you can do this one on the ground. You can do it here, where you pull up, grabbing your underneath leg even, or you can rotate forward into kind of your standard pigeon pose from yoga, where you'll just sink down into that hip, try and get this hip to sink down to the ground. The hip on the other side, you might feel a little stretch in the front of that. And those are all stretches for the internal and external type rotators of the hips. Next, I want to move into one that's going to be kind of seen as a hamstring stretch, but I love to use for neuromobility, because we need to get our nervous system moving just as much as we get our muscles moving. So if you're here and grab right underneath the leg, kick that leg as straight as you can, and just start pumping that foot back and forth. You should feel, when you pump it towards you, something coming right up into the calf. And that, my friends, is us tugging on the spider web that is our nervous system to get it moving down through the legs. And again, I like to sit here for a good minute to 2 minutes. Hold into it, point away. Good. And of course, we'd want to do these on both sides. If you don't have time to sit around and do 10 different stretches for 2 minutes apiece, choose 2 or 3 of them. Do 6, 8, 10 minutes of stretching a morning. Hit a different group every morning. It's a great way to make sure you're addressing some of these tightnesses that you might have. All right, let's move into doing a little bit of hip flexor stretch and also a quadricep stretch. So right here, kind of getting into a standard forward lunge. You should be able to feel the nice stretch right in here. And then just breathe and sink forward. Note that you're not wanting to really arch your back because you're not doing a whole lot. Keep that core tight and just sink on forward into it. If you hold this one for a long time and want to transition right into something for your hamstring, you can flip that toe up, sit back, and kind of press down into this leg, keeping your torso tall. You should feel a pretty good stretch as you lean forward into that front hamstring here. And again, I like to move my foot around because you get the nervous system moving. So again, you'd be holding all these for at least 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Something I like to do for the adductors, or the insides of your legs, is if you have a wall that you can get to, and get those legs up, scoot your bottom right up to the wall, and let the legs just relax on down. That's going to stretch out right this inside area of the adductors. And you can kind of try scooting your legs a little further. As you can see, I'm a little ways away from doing the splits, but hey, it feels good. And breathe. So let's say it's been 2 minutes. Another good way to do your adductors would be getting into just a side lunge. Keep making sure you have good knee position, your core is nice and upright, and you just sink on down to the point where you feel a good stretch on the inside of that foot. I like to keep my foot kind of pointing straight ahead. And you sink down into that. So if we go back to this forward lunge and wanted to hit our quadriceps more, and this is kind of a tough move, it might be good to have something to put your hand on, especially if stability might be an issue. You can have your hand on something over here, and then you can pull that heel towards the butt. I'll try doing it without falling over myself. Keep that core tight. Flex that booty a little bit to deepen that stretch. And get a nice long hold. If that's a little too tough, you can always lay flat on your stomach to do a good quadricep stretch. And just reach back and grab that foot here.